Welcome and thank you for joining us on this live stream for Parents and Kids Magazine. I have with us today a really unique individual. This is Coach Larry Calhoun, and he is going to spend some time today talking to us about mental and physical well-being in kids. Before I turn to him first, audience listening, please feel free to submit your questions via Facebook. Just put them in the comments section. They'll get relayed to me, and then I, in turn, will interrogate the coach. So, Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Now, I think this is a nice day for the audience, too. Listen, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came to be involved in this interesting program.
Well, I've spent about 25 years in education. I was a basketball coach, coached track and tennis, boys and girls. I actually ended my teaching career in Clinton Public Schools, teaching 4th and 5th grade PE. But I've also taught social studies and I've taught English. It's been a very nice career. In 2012, Miss Ann Travis and Scott Clements with the Mississippi State Department of Education and the Bauer Foundation, they came out and they saw me teaching a group of students, about 60, 70 boys and girls. And they had this idea. First off, they traveled the state and they saw all the amazing things happening in the state of Mississippi with education. But somehow people did not know about all the wonderful things that were going on. So they ended up in Clinton and they decided, hey, this is an opportunity for us to kind of put all that together, those ideas, and bring it together as one tool for every teacher, every parent, every student in the state of Mississippi. And they thought I was a good fit in terms of how I managed children and how I was able to motivate and encourage. And I feel fortunate because I thought I'd still be teaching now. And here we are 7, 8 years later. But it's been an honor. And just to meet all the people I've had an opportunity to meet, it's been so encouraging. And it lets me know that we're doing what's right for children. And there is a saying, no man stands taller than when he stoops to help a child. And so I'm only 5'9", so I don't have to stoop that far.
Well, so this is the genesis of Move to Learn.
Yes, it's the beginning.
Okay, well, this is an awesome story. So you're working with the Bauer Foundation and the Mississippi Department of Education.
Yes.
And this program, it's reaching schools statewide, public and private.
That's correct. It's statewide, and it was specifically designed for Mississippi children, Mississippi teachers, Mississippi administrators. But because the world is so much smaller now, we have people in Japan that are watching. We have people in Mexico. We have people in all across the United States, Australia. But it's specifically designed for Mississippi students. But because the world is so much smaller, everyone can actually take a look and can actually use it as a tool. And again, I want to say it's just a tool. It's not a panacea. It's not for all. But it's a tool that can be used in a multiplicity of ways by educators.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but Move to Learn is actually just that. It's helping educators incorporate movement into their lessons, and this movement and this release of kinetic energy then kind of clears the brain, so the next lesson that comes around, the kids are more focused.
Absolutely. And from a scientific standpoint, here's what happens. A teacher goes and she pulls up a Move to Learn video. When she recognizes that the kids are bored and restless and just not getting a lesson, as I did when I was a little boy, stand up beside their desk and without any equipment, she goes to her smart board or whatever device they have and they turn the video on, the kids start moving. Well, as they're moving, they're laughing, they're giggling, they got some movement going on, but it's some scientific things going on in their bodies. One is they're increasing their heart rate. And as they increase their heart rate, they're increasing the blood flow to their brain, something known as neurogenesis, which is brain cell growth. So they're increasing blood flow to the brain, they're getting their heart rates up, and they're becoming more alive. So the best part of this is when these children sit down and they go back to work, all the research that's out there has indicated that there is a correlation between the movement and the focus. The movement and the academic performance, the movement and behavioral challenges, the movement and the excitement about learning. So all of these things are the byproduct of just that movement.
That makes perfectly good sense because even as adults, you sit in an auditorium with a meeting that's going on and the speaker drags on, and you start hearing zipper zip and
Yeah.
papers rustle. I mean, even in church, I've been sitting in church like the last 10 minutes, the pews start rustling. People are like, the women are getting their purses. It's really funny. I mean, adults
Well,
do
yes.
this too. Now, I've
So,
got a comment. Oh, go on.
so like that's what happens, and they start. Some of them have their cell phones out, looking at their cell phone. Now, sometimes they may be writing down what the pastor is saying, but sometimes they're not. So children carry on these same behaviors in the classroom. So how do you discipline children with dignity within a classroom setting without there being a battle, heads butting? So the way the teacher can deal with that with a move to learn brain break, it acts as a redirect from those type of behaviors. The other thing it does is it elicits laughter. And we know that there's some chemicals that happen in the body when we have movement. Those chemicals are dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And those chemicals can actually help a child who may be dealing with some small amount of stress. So Move to Learn in the videos, they have a multiplicity of purposes. But I think the best thing that happens is that teachers can utilize this in many different ways, and whichever way best fits their classroom setting.
Well, it's an amazing program. Look, I've gotten some comments. Mary LaSalle says, "We love Move to Learn!" Exclamation point. How does Move to Learn work in the classroom? And I think you're talking about that. We were talking about like transitions between subjects.
Yes, transitioning from one subject to the next is a great way. And the idea for 5 minutes is it's just logical to do 5 minutes. It doesn't take away from the instructional aspect of class. And it also allows children a break and an opportunity to dissipate some of that energy. And as I said before, boys and girls are slightly different, not much, but there's a slight difference. Boys tend to have more testosterone in their bloodstream, and it makes them want to move and do things like beat on the desk, fold paper, zip zippers. So if you can allow them to have some measure of movement, then it could be corrective in terms of how we discipline that particular type of behavior.
And I was on your website, and I'm sure we're going to get those links up here. The website
Great
is
question, Mary.
Thank you. I noticed on the website on these videos, a lot of them are subject specific. So I was clicking on language, looking at what was available for like 3rd through 5th graders. And there was this great exercise where the teacher reads something and the kids act out the punctuation. So they jump for an exclamation point and they wiggle and jump for a question mark. And I think maybe they stomp for a period, but it was just so good because now they're using physical activity to reinforce the classroom learning. So that's learning and play and physical activity all rolled into one.
You are absolutely right. You are right on target, because what happens is we know more children are tactile, more children are bodily kinesthetic. So what better way to enforce the lesson and putting these little subtle lessons, and even they don't even realize that they're lessons sometimes. A case in point would be like one time a teacher had me reach in a box and made me pull out a state. You remember when we had to learn the states and we had to learn every state and its capital? Well, the teacher has me pull out a state and I pull out Arkansas. And she said, "Little Larry, you got to go back and you got to demonstrate it. You cannot tell us what it is. You got to demonstrate." So I go back and I draw a picture of Noah's Ark. I put arms and ears on Noah's Ark. I put a mouth and I put a saw in his hand. And I step up in front of the class and I start doing this. And I'm scared because I'm not used to being in front of boys and girls presenting. And I'm doing this and all the children shout, "Arkansas!" That just turned something on about learning. And she said, "You almost got it all. You got a 100 if you can tell me the capital." And I walk over to the science table. I pick up a little pebble and I come back and say, "Little Rock." Now, I remember this lesson like it happened yesterday. This has been over 40 years ago, 45 years ago. How amazing was that? And where was that teacher's head in terms of knowing to take me there, being a kinesthetic learner or being a tactile learner? And so children are still that way today.
And you make me think of muscle memory. Like we know passcodes our hands know passcodes when our brain can't come up with a number.
Yes.
And so this is muscle memory, but more significant content. Now let me look and see some other comments. Okay, Mary LaSalle, she is your biggest fan. She said, my grandchildren like it because it's fun and they use it at home. And Mary, we're going to come back to that subject in a minute because you're right on target. Then she's asking, what about children in wheelchairs and special needs kids?
Oh, wow. That is a great question, Mary. I tell you, and sometimes there used to be the perception that we can't involve special needs children because they can't do what the other kids can do. That may be true to a point, but many of those kids can do movements. We just have to modify those movements. And when you go to the Move to Learn videos, you'll notice there are some children with special needs. Some have cochlear implants, some are in wheelchairs. And so we want to show that this is all inclusive and we should never forget about those children. And sometimes those children can actually be the ones to inspire us all to be more of who we can be. I've been so inspired by some of the special needs children I've been able to be around. And one thing that I noticed that they carry that sometimes we forget about is the authentic love. That's the real stuff that you can actually feel through vibrations. And we're nothing more than vibrations. And when I'm around those children, I feel their loves in ways that I cannot even explain in words.
Oh, that is awesome.
A great question.
And here's another great question. Sunny K asks, how can we get Move to Learn to come to our school? And is there a cost?
That's another great question. There is no cost.
Wow.
And as soon as things get back to anywhere near normal, that teacher or that administrator would go to movetolearnms.org and they would send an email. And the email would go to Jane Black. Jane Black is the one that handles all the scheduling. She's our scheduling guru. And so she'll communicate. She's so efficient. I call her the epitome of efficiency. If you call her one day, she'll call you back the same day. If not, the next day for sure. But Jane makes sure that we get in all the contacts with schools that want us. And we only go where we want it, but we love and we're honored to go to schools and do these presentations because there's a different presentation in person than in being on the internet, in that we have more hands-on approach and you can actually feel all the energy in the room. And I've just been around so many encouraging teachers and administrators. And so if they ever want us to come visit, all they have to do is go to the website, movetolearnms.org, send an email, and you will get a response.
Well, that is great. And this is a really good time. We've got a video that you've sent us showing a demonstration at a school. So let's get that to run and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Yes. Thank you.
Don't they know we're in a school? There's no laughing in school. Cut it out. And you. They say children like you and adults like this that laugh on a regular basis, watch this, they live longer. So try to find your joy, especially in school.
Now, Coach, I love the way you're engaging with those children. You can tell they are all in.
Well, they better stop laughing at my hair. It's not that funny. I'm going to tell my mama on you.
So you bring a whole persona to these events.
Listen, as a teacher in the 21st century, you have to be what you've never been before, which means sometimes you have to become an entertainer to keep children engaged. And one way of keeping them engaged is by having props. This is an example of a prop. This loud colors, oranges and greens and lime colors, all of these things, and humor, all of these things make us more of an entertainer in the classroom. And I think that's where we have evolved to. Think about this. 100 years ago, none of us were born, but 100 years ago, the first phone was on the wall. You had to crank the phone to get a call out. Now we've evolved to cell phones, which are small computers. 100 years ago, the first cars were pulled by horses. Because of evolution, now we got cars that drive themselves. 100 years ago, classroom seats were put in rows. for people that were going to be on the Industrial Revolution, working on the assembly lines. We all know those days are, for the most part, gone. What do we do to keep children engaged and keep them excited about learning and make them associate learning with something positive and not something punitive? Well, you do these kind of things and it'll immediately get their attention. Now you have that golden opportunity, that window of opportunity to actually teach a lesson and keep them all engaged.
And you know, I could see you coming to a school and doing a performance like that as an awesome way to just kick off introducing this to the classroom.
Hey, it's a great way for teachers to know that there's so many ways to use it. For example, I've had teachers over the course of 7 years, we've had teachers tell us they've used it right before testing. Why before testing? Because that's the period in time that many teachers and students and administrators are stressed to the hilt. What better way to dissipate some of that stress than with a movement break that may elicit some laughter to make the kids a little bit more calmer. We had teachers use it right before lunch. Why before lunch? They've said because it makes them eat more food. Some of them doing after lunch. Why after lunch? It helps them get rid of that energy from the food they just ate. Cold weather, inclement days, rainy days, snowy days when you can't go outside. You plug in a Move to Learn video. So this thing has so many different uses, and no one teacher, no two teachers will use it the same way. But that's why we say it's all inclusive, and teachers make those decisions. With Move to Learn, it's like a limitless wellspring of creativity, which means that the teacher in room 200 may do something different from the teacher in room 201.
And you know, I like what you just touched on. Even if a school hasn't formally adopted this, an individual classroom teacher could use it herself as a transition between subjects.
Absolutely. The fact that it's free, you know, sometimes with school purchasing resources, there's a cost. And sometimes it goes beyond that school's budget to purchase that resource. In this case, thanks to the Bauer Foundation and Mississippi State Department of Education, there is no cost and there are no strings attached. And when you go to the Move to Learn site, there's no registration. You don't have to click on 20 things before you get to the site. And if you have any trouble getting to the site and you go to the movetolearnms.org and you send a message, they will make sure that whatever issue you're having, you can fix it, because some schools have bandwidth issues. We know technology sometimes is not in every school to the same level. And so there's a way to reach out if you're having trouble getting access.
Wow, this is just such a marvelous gift to Mississippi schools. Now I've got another question. Michelle Catchings is asking, is this available for high school students?
That's another great question. I'm glad you asked that. And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. In 2012, the children who filmed the videos were selected last year to create the high school videos. So they were 4th, 5th grade, and now they're like 11th, 12th grade. How special is that? The difference is we let those children do the choreography, the music, everything that goes on with those free videos. Those students that are now juniors and seniors were able to help create that. That's special. The difference between the high school videos and the elementary videos are there is no content or subject matter to be emphasized. Theirs is practically just movement and choreography and just having fun, because we know high schools are dealing with situations where in some high schools, in many high schools, there is what's called a 90-minute block schedule. 90 minutes is a long time to be in a classroom. It's a struggle for not only teachers, but students as well. And so what we thought was this idea of taking it to the high school would give them a tool that they could use and have access to when they're in those 90-minute block schedules. Those videos start from 7th grade through 12th grade.
Okay.
So you got a wide range of students that could be a part of that. The other videos are pre-K through 6th grade. However, trust me, I assure you, there are going to be some children that are 5th and 6th grade that are going to be doing the high school videos.
Oh, I'm sure.
A way of doing that.
I was looking at the high school videos this morning, and they are really just mini dance breaks.
Yes.
They were really good. And I was thinking, when we have all day staff meetings, which we sometimes do with all our personnel around the state, they all come here to Jackson and we have a massive 6-hour meeting. I'm thinking, I'm going to play some of these the next time we have one of
Wow.
our meetings.
And you know what? It's funny you say that, because we've heard people say that in meetings, the school staff, the teachers and administrators have actually done brain breaks just to break the monotony and get them out of that meeting mode. And so it's incredible. And I think what else is special is it's just a testament that we all need movement, not just children. Now they're saying adults who move, we can make our brains healthier through movement. We can make our whole entire bodies healthier. Well, we know this, but somehow we adults are struggling. So many of us are struggling with just the idea of being engaged in activity. And I think it's because I had an administrator tell me when he was a kid, he got teased, he got laughed at. So he still associates movement with something punitive. And every adult on this planet needs movement to have a healthy lifestyle. And I think it's a great way of us modeling what we want the children to do when they grow up.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue for our next topic. And we're going to go back to Mary LaSalle. She was asking about using this at home. And using this at home would give an excellent chance for the parents to do it with the kids. And they could be modeling, and it's also a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. Let's talk a little bit about, now it's summertime, how can we incorporate this into like daily living?
There are so many ways to mention, but to start with, this can be used as a family bonding component. If you go to church with the children after church, before church in the parking lot, you could do a 5-minute break. Usually people are getting to church a little early anyway. And so if you're going to church, you can do a 5-minute brain break. If you're on a special trip and kids are asking, quote, "Are we there yet?" Perfect time to pull over at a rest stop, get your restroom break, do a break. Everybody's charged up again, but get back in the car and start driving again. In terms of being at home, well, because of the pandemic and us not being able to go out or being advised not to go out as much socially, it's a great time for Move to Learn because you can do it at home during commercials. And if you're watching a TV show, typically you're going to see anywhere from 3 to 6 to 9 commercials within that show. And each time a commercial come on, there's going to be 2 or 3 commercials to follow. That's enough time to do a brain break. And I think not only that, but the kids will see the parents and the grandparents and the aunts and uncles, and they'll laugh and they'll think it's so funny. And guess what they're getting from the laughter and the movement? They're getting the dopamine, they're getting the oxytocin, they're getting the serotonin, they're getting the endorphins. Some experts refer to it as dose because it's chemicals that we produce ourselves. What better way to bring a family together? What better way to make memories? What better way to show that this family is together and we're here and we're not alone? What better way to show that you can have fun even in crisis?
I love that idea. And I'm thinking families could have these silly moments built in, instead of a family game night once a week, of course, keep that, but you could also have a silly break once every evening where you do 5 or 10 minutes of these and just let that be a special time and dedicate it to like COVID recovery.
Wow. And you know what? If we started inserting that in our families, I would say that it could certainly improve the emotional climate of our homes. It could improve the emotional climate of our classrooms. It could even improve the emotional climate of our church. There are a lot of stressed people out. There's a lot of uncertainty. But one thing for sure, we know that if we come together and if we find some moment of laughter, just a moment of laughter can be extremely therapeutic. I'm glad you mentioned that because sometimes I have to remind myself to keep the humor and keep the laughter and keep the positive energy because I don't know who needs that. There may be somebody watching and that really truly needs that day. And I don't know who they are. So we all can be an example of that.
Well, you just reminded me, you do morning shows every morning at 9 a.m. Central Time.
I do morning shows, 9 a.m., and I want as many people as possible to join me. Okay. I can't see those young people and those adults, but I can feel their energy. And the the better.
Okay, so to join this, they go to your Facebook page, correct?
Yes, they go to Move to Learn Facebook page. It's usually 9 o'clock, Monday through Friday. And sometimes we have a theme. So we might have a word for the day for the children, like caring and understanding and love and mercy and grace and forgiveness and aspiration and just all those adjectives, all those words that really can lift our spirit. And sometimes people can wake up. I've had moments when I've woke up awakened negative. And you know, negativity is like weeds growing up out the ground. You don't ever have to water them. They just come up. And how do you deal with it? You deal with it with positive. We deal with it with positive words. So we use positive affirmations, like we use I am affirmations, like I am love, I am hope, I am joy, I am fun. And I think that's a great way to set the tone each and every day for each and every one of our children that we see. And maybe some adults too.
That's right. And the thing is, you're live on Facebook at 9 a.m., but you can go to your Facebook page and see previous days of these.
Absolutely. They're logged by dates. And for the last 3 months, how long has we been dealing with COVID-19? It's been like 3 months since March.
Maybe 3 years?
Yeah, it seemed like 3 years. And so the kids can go and they can pull any of the videos and do them. And some of them I'm wearing my props, some I'm not, but it's certainly an opportunity for them to join and to go have fun with that because it's free.
Well, you know, making that available free and having fun. I'm getting notes here from viewers talking about grandparents doing this with them. Another question has come out, and you mentioned that the web page and the YouTube videos are being used around the world, and also your Facebook page is accessible anywhere there's an internet connection. Are there any plans to branch this out through other states?
I think it's the Bauer Foundation and the Mississippi State Department of Education. They want to really concentrate this on Mississippi. All too often, I think sometimes Mississippi gets forgotten about, or are the children of Mississippi. And that's not to say we don't care about the other children beyond Mississippi, but Mississippi children, this is home. And we must take care of home first. If we take care of home first, then we can take care of all others. And another reason why, if we go outside of Mississippi, then I think we take away from the very children that we're here to serve.
And you know, all the resources are available online to anyone with an internet connection. Absolutely. You're not limiting it to just people in Mississippi. So if Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas want to use these videos, you're not licensing it and keeping it in a locked box and right. Making people go through hoops to get it. We have a question that just came in, which is a very good one. Is this available in private schools and possibly daycares?
Oh, well, listen, private schools, in fact, we've been going to some of the private school conferences, and private schools they're seem to be really strong proponents of Move to Learn. And what's interesting is that I'm also a basketball referee. I referee boys and girls basketball, high school and college. And when I go to some of the schools to referee, every so often a kid will come out of the stands, first grader, second grader, and they'll tug on my pant. It's like, you're Move to Learn. So they don't know me as Coach Calhoun. They know me as Move to Learn. So when I see that, and when I'm in public schools and private schools, and I see a kid come down and say something, it's so encouraging because it lets us know that we're looking out for every kid, every child, every teacher in the state of Mississippi. And I think the biggest thing is this has become like collective responsibility for every adult in Mississippi toward all of our children. And you think about it, we grew up in neighborhoods where if you were my neighbor and your parents were my neighbor, they could discipline me with love and caring and kindness. And I think there's a place for that in this world we live in. And so Move to Learn is both public and private school, and they have just the same access as anyone else.
That is great. And I know for a fact that Jackson Academy uses it. We did an interview with some of their coaches, and one of the first things they mentioned was having implemented this across the curriculum for everybody. And the teachers were speaking so highly of it that it really does help them focus.
Wow. Well, I tell you one thing for sure. I was paralyzed with fear when they asked me to do this because of the unknown.
Mhm.
But what teachers have said to me, teachers and parents and students and grandparents have taught me about courage. Courage is doing what you're afraid to do, but you do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Politics asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And I truly believe this is the right thing to do for our young people. And I can't say what other people need to do, but I can sit in this space and stand in this space and I can do what I can do, all that I can do, such that maybe it makes the difference in a child's life. And children, they need us now more than they've ever needed us. And I'm just glad that I can be a part of this.
Well, you are obviously very passionate about what you do. I can tell you love children, and this program sounds amazing. Something just popped into my mind about it. I was one of the ones with bad asthma, never picked at PE, and just sports were dreadful for me.
Right.
Looking at the videos, even me as a puny little asthmatic kid, I could have done those things.
Yes.
It would have given me success at something physical in school where I had zero success at anything physical in school for my whole education.
Right.
But I
Well,
could have been successful.
well, you know what? You saying that there's still kids like that. There's still kids that get teased sometimes. And so I think what Move to Learn does, it offers an opportunity for everyone to succeed. And you can find success in small little measures. I tell kids all the time when we go out to do presentations, it's hard by the yard, but inch by inch, anything's a cinch. And to find a kid who doesn't want to be engaged, and all of a sudden, 6 months later, they're not only engaged, but they're leading the team or leading the group in exercise. That's special. And that's what this should all be about, helping children to evolve and find their passions and find their gifts. And like you said, I do this with a passion. It's in me. But you know why it's in me? Because teachers planted this in me when I was 4, 5, and 6 years old with the authentic love. I saw a teacher cry about me. And when I was 6 years old, and I share this with you, I was in 6 years old and I learned something about race relations. At 6 years old, I was playing with a lighter called a Bic, and I was in a car. And the lighter caught a fire. I had another brother, 5, another 4. And the lighter caught on fire. My dad was taking the fishing reels to the bank. And I can still see this like it happened yesterday. Cars were passing. 2 young Caucasian ladies got out. I could see it like it happened yesterday. And they got out of their car, stopped in the middle of the street, and they rescued us from the car. And I wish I could see those ladies again so I can thank them. They didn't worry about this. It was almost as if 2 guardian angels were there to save my life. And later on, I had teachers who they believed in me. They greeted me at the door. If I missed a day in school, they said, "Boy, where you been? We've missed you. Don't you be away from here again and not let us know where you are. We missed you." I had them come to my house. It's what they planted back then that's made a difference in my life at 56. And those kind of things, life is just that way. People come in your life and they can plant seeds that can manifest when you're 56 years old.
Well, I'm thinking with that story you've just told, if we're thinking in terms of a pebble being dropped into a quiet pond and the ripples spread out, I think with you, those ripples have spread and become a tsunami of just passion for kids. And I'm just so glad you are here in Mississippi, that you're a special state treasure for us, and that you are just so willing to open your heart and your life and devote all this energy to Mississippi kids. Thank you.
Well, listen, I tell you, it's an honor for me. I feel very fortunate for this. And when I came to Mississippi, I heard these horror stories about Mississippi. And Mississippi has some negative path, but all states do. I learned. But when I got here, I start meeting people like you, and I start meeting people of every racial and ethnic group, and they treated me with so much kindness and so much love. and the authentic love, the real stuff. And they helped me and they were supportive. And this state, as I find out, is one of the most charitable states in the union. Every time something happens in another state, our people get in cars and trucks and they go and they help. This is all about collective responsibility. And this world is one community. And I've learned from Mississippians that we take care of each other and we help each other and we forgive each other and we encourage each other and we lift each other up and we fill buckets. And all I'm trying to do with these children and teachers is every single day fill somebody's bucket.
Well, I'm also a non-native Mississippian, and I moved to the state because I fell in love with it. And I totally agree. You have characterized Mississippi. This is a place where people still bring casseroles when you're sick.
Yes.
And when I tell my sister from Michigan about that, she's like, "You think they're poisoning you?" I mean, she can't conceive of a life where just because they've seen your car not leave the driveway for 3 days, they're checking to make sure you're okay.
Oh,
So,
yes. And that's community. Isn't that great? And you know what happens is sometimes people migrate here or move here. And when they move here, they have a totally different perspective from what they had previously. And some people move here and they never leave. They stay. So I think Mississippi has so many good things to offer. But in terms of education, I keep seeing this happening with our test scores, increases in our test scores. And it's just, it's a testament to the teachers and administrators and all those people, all those partnerships and collaborations that are making this happen.
well, I do have one more comment from a reader. It says, "We love you, Coach. Thanks for persevering."
Wow.
So I'm just going to let us close on that. Let everyone know watching that this man is awesome. I want you to share this video with anyone you can think of so they can get in touch with the organization and they can get moved to learn in their schools, but also so they can look at some of these videos and incorporate them into family life this summer.
Well, hey, I thank you guys so much. And I really thank you for your guidance and your coaching me. I need coaches too. So thank you guys for being a great coach, Scott. I appreciate you guys. And the last thing I want to say is to all the boys and girls out there, we love you. You are not alone. Your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. And the way you make all these people feel after having an experience with you becomes your trademark. And I thank you. Move to learn ms.org. And it's free. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.